The bitch is lying.
A vicious war of words.
And she can just never shut up, right?
It's game over.
Harry and Meghan considering what was previously unthinkable, a public royal apology.
Meghan Markle has somehow turned one casual dinner party comment from Martha Stewart into a full-blown public mess. And the worst part is that she did not even need to respond. Martha did not launch some screaming attack. She did not claim Meghan spilled a state secret. She simply said they had been at the same dinner table in California, Meghan had just returned from the palace, and she knew Meghan had been talking about the trip. That was it.
I had dinner with Meghan Markle the other night. She had just gotten back from the palace. She was talking about it.
But then a source close to Meghan pushed back and suggested Martha must have been confused. Confused. That one word changed everything, because suddenly this was no longer a harmless anecdote. It became Meghan Markle versus Martha Stewart, with King Charles, a supposedly private royal reunion, and Meghan's credibility dragged straight into the middle.
But no wonder Meghan is having a collapse, because Martha Stewart's turned on her this week, so too has Oprah Winfrey, both on video. And now the house has just found its way onto a real estate website. They're quietly quitting Montecito because they cannot afford it.
And what makes this worse is that Martha's own version is on video. She says she had dinner with Meghan Markle the other night, then immediately corrects herself and explains that Meghan was simply at the same table. Martha even makes it clear that Meghan was not her guest and that they barely spoke.
She still has it. She's going to say what she wants to say. It doesn't matter. And bless Martha Stewart for coming out and even saying this. I think a lot more celebrities that have been in contact with Meghan need to call her out. They need to say things.
She says Meghan had just gotten back from the palace, and that while she personally only exchanged a couple of words with her, she knew Meghan was talking about the visit. That is hardly a wild, complicated story. There are no secret documents, no dramatic claim about what Charles supposedly said behind closed doors. Martha's point is incredibly simple. Meghan had just returned from that royal trip, and the subject came up at dinner. Then came the pushback.
Today, she has been briefing to the Daily Mail, trying to make us believe that Martha Stewart was lying. A source close to Meghan saying that Martha must have been confused because the pair were not seated next to one another.
A source close to Meghan said Martha must have been confused because the two women were not seated next to one another, and Meghan had only been asked about her European vacation, replying that it was nice. That response was supposed to shut the story down. Instead, it poured petrol all over it. Because Martha never claimed Meghan was whispering directly into her ear. She said they were at the same table, and that she knew Meghan was talking about the trip. Those are two very different things.
The insider said, and this has clearly come directly from her team to the Mail, Meghan was asked by someone else about her European vacation. She said it was nice, and that was the extent of it. I think she must have been confused. And it's like, I'm sorry, Meghan, we believe Martha.
Yeah.
Martha, who has, 7 decades of telling us the truth, 7 decades of sharing every aspect of her life, 7 decades of total authenticity. And what you have, Meghan, is 10 years. And can you believe it's been 10 years?
Saying they were not sitting next to each other does not automatically destroy Martha's account. At a dinner table, people can hear conversations that are not happening directly beside them. The denial created a fight where there did not need to be one.
Right, just make it worse, don't you? Just make it worse for yourself. Like, just shut your mouth. We don't believe you. And we believe Martha because she keeps it real. Like, why would she be confused or make something up like that? This woman is winning, and you're not. So we know the person that is not winning is going to lie, make up things.
Before we continue, one quick thing. One thing I've realized is that most families don't have their important information organized in one place. That's exactly why I recommend the Family Vault, a simple printable and fillable organizer where you can keep everything from important documents and insurance to medical information, passwords. You'll find the link in the description, or you can simply scan the QR code on your screen. Now let's get back to today's story.
And this is exactly why commentators started asking the obvious question, why answer at all? If Meghan had only said, "We had a lovely time," then why send out a correction that effectively paints Martha Stewart as confused?
And actually, there's a very unfortunate bit of language there, Grant, because a source close to the Sussexes has said that Martha Stewart must be confused. Now, I think that's quite a rude phraseology, given the fact that Martha Stewart is 85 years of age.
Why turn a tiny anecdote into a credibility contest with one of America's most recognizable lifestyle figures? One royal commentator put it very simply: Meghan should have left it alone. Instead, the clapback became the story. The original comment was small, the response made it huge. That credibility contest is brutal for Meghan because Martha Stewart is not some random gossip account looking for 5 minutes of attention.
What Meghan is doing is calling in question, sort of saying almost that Martha Stewart as being a bit of a dotty old lady, because obviously she's now, I'm not quite sure of Martha Stewart's age, but she's
in her 80s.
She's in her 80s. So, you know, again, why? All she should have done is just left it alone.
She has spent decades building a public career around food, television, publishing, homeware, business, and lifestyle. Whatever anyone thinks of her personally, she does not need Meghan Markle for relevance. She does not need to invent a dinner party anecdote just to get a headline. What exactly would Martha gain by making up such a small detail?
She's an incredibly accomplished person, as you've said, Rupert. She is a multi-millionaire and an American cultural icon. So why would she lie about what Meghan may or may not have said at a dinner party? Martha Stewart doesn't need the clicks.
Yeah.
She doesn't need the headlines. She doesn't need the money.
She already has the fame, the brand, the money, and the name recognition. And then Martha made another comment that cut even deeper. She talked about how difficult it must be to move from actress to princess to homemaking personality on television because those identities do not naturally follow one another.
It doesn't sort of follow, so go from there.
She did not need to shout. She did not need to insult Meghan directly. The comparison was devastating because it hit the exact space Meghan is now trying to dominate. Meghan is building a lifestyle image. Martha Stewart practically built the modern American lifestyle empire. So when Martha raises an eyebrow at that transition, people listen.
Martha Stewart is bluntly calling out Meghan. We were at the same table, but she wasn't my guest. They're not direct friends. You can't be actress to a princess to a homemaker. She can't cook. She's back from the palace and talking a bit about it. She didn't keep it private. Yes, this bombshell from Martha Stewart, courtesy of People magazine, now on video, and it's even more delicious.
That is where this story stops being just a royal gossip spat and becomes a much nastier brand problem. Meghan is trying to sell herself as a lifestyle authority while publicly clashing, through sources, with a woman who has already achieved everything Meghan is trying to build.
Meghan just can't win. There's no way for her to win, but to really, really, truly, and believably change your attitude, change who you are.
One broadcaster went as far as saying Martha Stewart is everything Meghan Markle would love to be and is not. Harsh? Absolutely. But that line explains why this row is so awkward. Martha does not need Meghan's lane. Meghan is trying to enter Martha's. And look at the timing. Meghan is pushing lifestyle products, cooking content, jam, glossy imagery, and the whole polished California homemaking identity.
The total opposite, P. Diner, of Martha Stewart, who you can just tell is just speaking the truth, right?
Oh, yeah.
Then Martha Stewart appears and, with a few casual sentences, reminds everyone that lifestyle credibility is not created by a title or a perfectly staged kitchen. Martha spent decades turning recipes, television, publishing, and products into a huge commercial machine. Meghan is still trying to prove that people want what she is selling. Picking a public fight with Martha, even indirectly, is like walking into someone else's stadium and then arguing with the owner about the rules.
We believe Martha. She wasn't confused. Meghan is just trying to get out of the obvious trouble that she is in, because I would think it's game over because of, what has been said about her time with the king. She should have not said anything, and she knows she did, and this is why she's speaking out about it now. She's trying to cover her, her tracks.
That is why the "she should have been told to shut up" line from the commentary is so brutal. To be clear, that was not Martha Stewart telling Meghan to shut up. It was a royal commentator arguing that Meghan's PR team should have told her not to respond. But as a description of the strategy, it lands. Sometimes the smartest response is no response.
It's the most difficult thing to do, to admit you're sorry and that you are wrong for what you have done. And that is too difficult, and they won't do it. And the most difficult things to do in life are usually, most often, the right thing to do. So they're not going to do it because it's too difficult. Okay, they want the easy way. They've always wanted the easy way, so they won't do it.
Martha's comment could have disappeared after one news cycle. Instead, the denial gave every broadcaster, YouTuber, and royal commentator a second headline. Meghan's camp hits back. Martha is confused. Who is telling the truth? And then the palace angle makes it even more explosive. Former royal butler Grant Harold suggested the royal household would likely be watching this story closely, because after a private meeting, one obvious expectation would be that the details stay private.
What we can interpret from that is that, Grant, Martha Stewart does not like Meghan Markle.
No, I don't think she does.
He also offered a much more innocent possibility. Maybe someone at the dinner simply asked Meghan how the UK trip went, whether it was nice seeing her father-in-law, and Meghan answered politely, "That is completely possible." But even that reasonable explanation leaves Meghan with the same problem. The royal reunion is now part of a public Hollywood dinner party row. That is precisely what the royal family would want to avoid.
Well, that's not what the royal family really want. They want her to put up, shut up, and prove that you do want a genuine rehabilitation without the soap opera afterwards. And this is another example of the soap opera. He said, she said, she said. Who is right? I don't know, but it's part of the Sussex soap opera.
If there is any genuine attempt to rebuild trust between Harry, Meghan, and King Charles, the last thing anyone needs is another round of he said, she said, over what was discussed after a private visit. The palace does not need every dinner conversation becoming a headline. Charles does not need to wonder whether a family meeting will be recycled into social currency in California.
Why does Meghan feel, and this is the problem also for the royal family, because she does want to be seen to be back in the royal fold for her brand's sake. And yes, she may be having a quiet dinner party in Montecito, amongst her celebrity friends or acquaintances, I should suggest, then she doesn't need to be going on about how wonderful and what her seeing the king and look at me, I saw the king again.
And Meghan definitely does not need the phrase must have been confused attached to a woman who just publicly recalled hearing her talk about the trip. The irony is that one of the commentators actually criticized Martha too. He pointed out that dinner parties are normally private spaces and said a host might not be thrilled to see a guest discussing what another guest said afterward. That is fair. Martha did make the conversation public, but that criticism makes the situation even more interesting, not less. Because even while questioning Martha's discretion, the same discussion still concluded there appears to be very little love lost between Martha and Meghan.
We don't respect them, but we totally respect Martha Stewart for saying what, just in the very casual, nonchalant kind of way that she said it. We feel that. Yeah, Martha. And she has exposed a lot just from that little tiny snippet.
In other words, you can believe Martha should have kept the dinner private and still think Meghan's response made the situation worse. And if Martha really does not like Meghan, that is a terrible enemy to create in the exact industry Meghan wants to conquer. This is not a feud with somebody irrelevant to her business. Martha represents the old-school version of the lifestyle empire Meghan appears to be chasing. Recognizable products, trusted recipes, television longevity, retail reach, and decades of brand discipline.
Nothing is working. Like, what has worked for them, Dan? What?
Well, of course.
Nothing.
Meghan wants people to buy the food, buy the image, buy the taste, buy the fantasy. Martha already proved she can do that at scale. Why would Meghan want a public credibility battle with her? It gets even messier when you connect this to Meghan's constant use of the Duchess of Sussex title and the renewed attention around her royal connections.
Meghan Markle dips her Thin Mint Girl Scouts cookies in jam. The Royal News Network replied, I call BS and an exceptionally bad attempt to connect her brand to this movie. And the brand is failing. There's a new email, ludicrously written. I reckon she's probably using AI now for this weird sort of poetry where she writes, there is a certain rhythm to summer, the first flowers opening in the morning. Oh, do piss off. We'd rather listen to Martha, who knows that this is a disaster.
Meghan still needs that royal association for her brand. Whether that motive is true or not, the perception is damaging. Every time Meghan appears to move further into celebrity lifestyle territory, the royal title comes with her. Every time there is a reunion with Charles, the story becomes bigger because she is still the Duchess of Sussex. And now a Hollywood dinner party anecdote has smashed those two worlds together.
The ego in this woman is too big. She doesn't want to acknowledge the failure. So she's going to continue to embarrass herself, look completely just ignorant in terms of all the things she's trying to do. Really, it has to stop. It's comedy hour for her right now.
That is why the wording matters. If Meghan genuinely wants the reunion to be treated as private, the safest possible move is boring discipline. No stories, no mysterious sources, no corrections unless something truly serious is wrong. No argument over whether Martha heard too much. Just silence. Because every attempt to control the narrative creates another narrative. The more people explain, the more people ask what they are trying to explain away.
Another day, another public row involving the Duchess of Sussex. Do you remember the war of words with the Kardashians over the supposed opt-out of photographs at Kris Jenner's party? The Centre Barley row between Harry and Dr. Sophie Chandauka. And now this.
I think it's quite hard being someone like Meghan.
This has become a pattern in the way Meghan's public image is discussed. A story appears, a source pushes back, then the pushback becomes bigger than the original story. We have seen versions of this before with photographs, invitations, friendships, business relationships, and royal contacts. Even when the initial issue is tiny, the correction creates a second act. Suddenly, the audience is not debating the original detail. They are debating why the Sussex camp felt compelled to respond.
But Meghan can't resist sort of clapping back and just makes herself look stupid. Martha Stewart might be talking right, because what's Martha Stewart got to gain for not telling what exactly happened?
And Martha could hardly have made her original comment more casual. She did not claim Meghan sat there bragging for an hour. She did not say Meghan revealed private medical information or family secrets. She said Meghan had returned from the palace and was talking about it. That is why the aggressive denial looks so strange. If the true version is that Meghan only said the trip was nice, then Martha's statement is not necessarily incompatible with that. Meghan could have talked about the trip briefly. Martha could have heard it. Both things can be true. So what exactly was the emergency? That is the question Meghan's response created.
We see all the bad behavior, and so when she shows up to speak and to try to sell something, we don't believe it because we already know the history.
Was the concern the word palace? Was it the implication that the supposedly private royal reunion became dinner party conversation? Was it simply that Martha's phrasing made Meghan look too eager to talk about royal life in front of wealthy California guests? We do not know, but the denial ensured everyone started asking. And there is another reason the Charles angle matters. Meghan cannot have it both ways.
This isn't about Harry and Meghan admitting they were wrong about everything one insider tells naughty but nice. It's about acknowledging that the past 5 years has caused enormous pain. The debate now is over what an apology should say, and just as importantly, what it shouldn't.
She cannot benefit from the enormous attention that comes with a reunion involving the king, and then act shocked when people notice her discussing the trip in elite company. If the meeting was private, protect it like it is private. If it becomes dinner table conversation, accept that somebody at that table may remember it. The moment her team tried to narrow the story down to a harmless European vacation remark, they made the precise wording sound suspiciously important. That invites more questions, not fewer. What was said? Who asked? Who heard it? Why was a correction necessary?
it's just falling on deaf ears with her, and she just doesn't even look comfortable. She looks so scripted and contrived and unbelievable. It's like Meghan is just seriously wasting everyone's time that has shown up to try to do this with her, because it's just not hitting right at all.
A tiny detail suddenly looked like something that had to be controlled. And then, just as this row is exploding, Meghan is also promoting Cookie Queens and leaning even harder into the warm, wholesome lifestyle image. In one interview, she repeats childhood advice about keeping a good heart and talks about young girls asking difficult questions and trying to make the world better. Fine, but the contrast is almost too perfect for critics.
But what you have, Meghan, is 10 years of lies. So I'm sorry,
Right.
I trust Martha.
That's
And
right.
you're calling
You don't trust-
Martha a liar.
On one side, soft focus messages about kindness, food, and inspiration. On the other, her camp is being accused of publicly challenging Martha Stewart's recollection and calling her confused. Cookie Queens itself does not need to dominate this story, because the Martha fight is much stronger, but it shows the branding problem perfectly. Meghan wants the public to see the polished version: caring mentor, mother, lifestyle founder, executive producer, woman in a beautiful kitchen talking about values.
My teacher, Miss Pulia, said, keep a good heart. I just think it's one of those simple things that you can always remember no matter what situation you're in. Just go,
Oh, keep a good heart. Yeah, like, keep a good heart when you're bullying your sister-in-law who's about to battle cancer. Keep a good heart when you're snubbing and secretly recording your own father who has just lost half his leg in a Filipino hospital. Oh, yeah, keep a good heart when you're bullying the late Queen Elizabeth II on an international scale while accusing her of racism. Piss off.
Then real-world celebrity interactions keep creating noise around that image. The message says, calm. The headlines scream chaos. Even the jam angle became part of the mockery. Commentators ridiculed Meghan discussing dipping Girl Scout cookies in jam and accused her of forcing her own product story into the Cookie Queen's conversation. Again, that is commentary, not proof of some secret marketing scheme, but perception matters in celebrity branding. If every appearance is immediately interpreted as another attempt to push jam, products, or royal relevance, the brand starts looking less natural and more calculated.
Here's the real Meghan Markle as Nancy Sidley discovered. This is so gross.
hi, I'm Megan.
And I'm Alyssa.
And look how much she is annoyed by the 7-year-olds.
Martha's whole advantage in this fight is that she barely has to do anything. She gave a short anecdote, made a sharp observation about Meghan's career transitions, and moved on. Meghan's side did the rest by responding. That is why the row feels so lopsided. Martha gets to look casual. Meghan gets dragged into another defensive news cycle.
Celebrity, call it out the way that it is. We're like, right on. We feel you. And you know, Martha, she is just that woman. I'm telling you, I really do respect this woman.
Martha looks like she said what she remembered. Meghan's side looks like it is trying to manage what people are allowed to remember. And that is the real disaster here. Not that Martha Stewart destroyed Meghan with some enormous revelation. She did not. The disaster is that a tiny comment exposed how fragile the whole royal reconciliation narrative can become the second somebody outside the Sussex bubble speaks publicly. If even a harmless dinner party remark needs immediate correction, what happens when someone reveals something more substantial? If every outside recollection becomes a battle, rebuilding trust with the royal family becomes almost impossible.
She overheard Meghan Markle boasting about her royal return and her time with King Charles at Highgrove House. Well, sources close to the Sussexes, brackets Meghan, calling the paper, said this is not true, it's fake news. Who to believe?
King Charles does not need another media circus attached to a private family meeting. Harry does not need his attempts at reconciliation turned into American dinner party content. And Meghan does not need to prove she can outmessage Martha Stewart. If the goal is genuinely to rebuild relationships, the strategy should be painfully simple. Keep the private things private and stop turning every disagreement into a public counterattack. Instead, here we are. Martha says Meghan was talking about the trip. Meghan's camp says Martha was confused. Broadcasters start asking who is lying. Royal commentators warn the palace will be watching.
We see that you're trying to cover it all up. You're not honest with anything. You know, that's why we are the way that we are towards you, because we don't feel that you're being, upfront with people about things.
Others say Meghan's PR team should have told her to keep quiet, and suddenly one sentence at a California dinner table has become another Sussex credibility crisis. The funniest part is that Meghan could still end this immediately by doing absolutely nothing. No second source, no explanation, no attempt to prove Martha wrong. Let Martha have her version. Let the dinner disappear. But if another correction appears, another anonymous insider speaks, or another friend insists Meghan barely mentioned Britain at all.
And also, she added to what she said, you've got to be authentic in what you're doing and believe in what you're doing. And if we've looked at some of those programs, Mark, I'm sure, and that Meghan does, and you actually go, what the heck's this all about? She's just chopping vegetables.
Before we continue, I want to mention something really quick. Organizing your family's important information is one of those things most of us know we should do, but we keep putting it off. That's exactly why there's the Family Vault. It gives you one place to organize your important documents, insurance, medical information, passwords, and more, so everything is easy to find when it's needed. You'll find the link in the description, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. That's all. Now let's get back to today's story.
This story will keep growing because the argument itself is now more interesting than the original claim. Martha Stewart did not need to shout liar. Meghan did not publicly shout it either. But the clash has now been framed that way because Meghan's camp chose to challenge Martha's memory. That was the strategic mistake. You do not have to call someone a liar directly to create a fight over who is telling the truth. And when the other person is Martha Stewart, a woman with decades of brand credibility in the exact lifestyle world you are trying to enter, that is a fight you probably do not want.
She's big business, so she will have a big operation behind her, sort of creating the Martha Stewart effect around whole of America. But it was hard won. She did not achieve it overnight, whereas Meghan's approach to her lifestyle brand is, well, it's because of who I am, it's easy. Well, actually, nothing is easy. You don't get something without a bit of hard graft. And I think that's what lots of people seem to feel, that Meghan thinks that everyone are just going to buy her spread or whatever it is.
So the question is no longer what Meghan said at dinner. The bigger question is why she was apparently so desperate to control how that dinner was described. Because if the answer was really just, the trip was nice, then none of this needed to happen. Martha's anecdote would have faded. The palace would not be dragged into the discussion. The lifestyle rivalry would not be dominating headlines. And nobody would be saying Meghan should have simply shut up, but she did respond. And now the damage is done.
They are a complete laughingstock. They are an embarrassment. They are the butt of jokes. They are not to be taken seriously. And Harry is not making nearly the money that he had hoped. I mean, he has come down on his asking price for even giving speeches now.
Martha's few sentences have become a test of credibility, discretion, and brand power. Meghan wanted the focus on a royal reunion, lifestyle success, and polished California charm. Instead, she got another public row, another argument about privacy, another question about whether palace trust can survive her media orbit, and another comparison with a woman whose lifestyle empire makes Meghan's current operation look tiny. Here we go again indeed. One dinner, one comment, one denial, and somehow Meghan Markle has turned it into another giant public fight she never needed to have.